If you missed my original video on this topic, I highly recommend that you watch it. In that video, I broke down how most people base their entire nutrition strategy on calories without even understanding what a calorie is. I explained that calories and kilojoules are just units of heat energy, but your body doesn't run on heat. It runs on chemical energy from the actual nutrients that you eat. And what matters isn't energy as an abstract concept, but the mass and makeup of the nutrients that you consume. That's what drives digestion, hormone responses, nutrient partitioning, and ultimately your body composition. I also showed real-world examples of how calories ignore things like nutrient absorption, food quality, metabolism, and macronutrient signaling, and why a mass in, mass out model is more accurate and useful than the outdated calories in, calories out approach. But someone decided to drop a completely misaligned and inaccurate synopsis of what I said in that video in the comment section and accused me of being misleading. So today we're going to break down his epilogue and go through the holes and contradictions in his argument one by one. So Jakukya, if I pronounce that correctly, strap yourself in. He first starts off by saying, listen, I'm sure you're on the grind mindset, whatever that means, but you don't have to record a video while driving. You can put on a podcast and drive where you need to go, and then you can set up the camera to do the video. Jakukya, thanks for your concern, but I live in a country where recording yourself while driving is legal, and I was fully aware of my surroundings the whole time. Hence why I stopped talking when the suburban traffic got heavier. I don't have to film in a studio to make a video that's fresh in my mind, and you don't have to watch it if you don't want to either. This isn't the first time someone has done a vlog while driving, and it won't be the last. So let's move on. He continues with, you really have to adjust the clickbaity video title. Calorie counting is definitely not keeping people fat. Not having a game plan, sticking to that plan, and making adjustments when necessary is. Lowering your caloric intake has proven time and time again to be the best method for potentiating fat loss, which should be the primary goal as part of an overall health improvement plan. Okay, let me respond to that by asking you something. What might happen when we focus on mass makeup of what we eat instead of calories? Because Jakukya, calorie counting has been mainstream advice for decades, but if calorie counting is so effective for keeping people lean and healthy as you say, then why are obesity rates still climbing? Many people track calories to lose fat, but most of them get nowhere. Why? Well, a major reason for that is that calories aren't units of mass and have no mass makeup, and therefore they can't tell you anything about substrate utilization, food quality, satiety, hormonal response, and the list goes on. It's also completely unnecessary to count calories once you understand mass balance. Body composition change is a mass in, mass out equation, not a calories in, calories out equation, as I alluded to in the original video. It's also unscientific to say that we also capture and utilize calories. And if you need proof of that, ask yourself this. How does something with no rest mass, like calories, possibly impact your body mass? I.e., if calories have no mass, how can they possibly add to yours? And here's another question for you. How do you use heat energy to drive metabolic processes? Are you solar powered? Are you starting to see that there's some basic physics and fundamental logic missing in the calories in, calories out model? You also said that lowering your caloric intake is the best method for potentiating fat loss, and this should be the primary goal as part of any overall health improvement plan. The primary goal for who, Jakukya? Getting leaner is not healthy or optimal for many people. Body fat is an organ and it's required to be within a certain mass range for the body to function properly, i.e. you can be both overfat and underfat. I have a video on this topic and I suggest you should go watch it before saying that everyone needs to lose fat by lowering calories, which is both senseless and dangerous. Moving on. You next say, I find your example of the client who managed to lose 20 kilograms just by changing some carbs to proteins to be overly simplistic at best, straight up misleading at worst. Well, whether you find it simplistic that my client lost 20 kilograms by doing some fundamentals correctly doesn't detract from what actually happened or the result. Your opinion is, again, irrelevant to the facts. Again, there are differences between the macros, and nutrient utilization is a thing, Jakukya. If someone's under-eating protein and you increase that intake to appropriate levels to meet the required amounts for lean tissue turnover rate, do you think your body will be looking to break down a complex nutrient like protein for fuel, or will it look for a better energy substrate like fat? Furthermore, if you eat an extra 50 grams of sugar per day and do that every day for 365 days of the year, What do you think might happen when you ingest an extra 18.25 kilograms of sugar mass? Hopefully a light bulb's starting to go off. Moving on again. You say that all macronutrients can potentiate fat gain if eaten in excess. Your body is built for maximum efficiency and it doesn't discriminate. There is an argument to be made for slightly increased energy expenditure due to slightly increased diet-induced thermogenesis, gluconeogenesis, and ketogenesis. Jikukya, protein is not an efficient energy substrate, as I alluded to in my original video. It's also harder for the body to convert into body fat compared to other macronutrients because of its complex structure, i.e. its mass makeup. If, as you say, that all macronutrients potentiate fat gain to the same degree, and your body doesn't discriminate, then why do bodybuilders keep protein in their diet roughly the same whilst cutting and / carbohydrate consumption? Why wouldn't they just purely track calories and have equal amounts of all macros, or not even pay attention to them? And you even admit that diet-induced thermogenesis and gluconeogenesis exist, but you downplay them. Then you say that all macronutrients are equally fattening. You're contradicting yourself. And then you go on to say, the real reasons your client lost weight was mainly 1, protein-rich foods increase satiety and keep you full a lot longer. Again, you've just contradicted yourself. In your second point, you bring up being forced to seek out more protein sources and restricting carb sources just straight up eliminates a lot of junk food and overly processed trigger foods, leading to generally healthier food options. It's why so many people starting keto lose a ton of weight. It's not the diet itself, it's not having access to cheaply available, highly palatable, and highly calorically dense food. This is just another point that proves my argument, not yours. If two diets are isocaloric, as per the real life example in my original video, but the lower carb one leads to better hormone regulation for fat loss, improved satiety, and greater fat oxidation, then clearly the macros matter and aren't just interchangeable. But still you persist. Point 3. Restricting carbs will generally cause people to debloat, which can shed a few extra kilograms, but this is irrelevant since the goal should be fat loss, not mass loss. Yes, there is more water loss on low-carb diets, but there is also more fat oxidation too, which is my point in the first video. I never said that the goal of my client was weight loss. You made that up, not me. If the goal was weight loss, we could have severely dehydrated her and maybe even chopped off a couple of limbs. So rather than you critiquing my ability to drive and record videos, maybe it's you who needs to stop what you're doing and pay attention to things because you clearly didn't listen to what I said. Moving on. Point number 4. Hiring a coach probably motivated the client to exercise more, increasing energy expenditure. Probably can mean probably not too. Your assessment is pure speculation. FYI, the client was already exercising and did not increase this to any degree when the diet was changed. And maybe while you're at it too, you can check out my other video where I increased my so-called calories from 2400 to 2800 over a period of 16 weeks and lost fat. Moving on again to your 5th point. Hiring a coach and receiving food suggestions has increased the client's awareness in choosing healthier foods in general or in smaller doses, outside of the macro plan. Oh, so now you're living vicariously through the client and know their every move and motive, do you? This actually sounds like you copied and pasted it from an AI program. I'll speculate since you are, and if you, the audience, are relying on an AI program and believe it's infallible, well, think again, especially when it comes to nutrition. It'll tell you what it's programmed to tell you, and it's designed to be congenial and agreeable, whilst conforming to the status quo and consensus bias. So unless you don't apply any sort of critical thinking skills and question what it says, your IQ will continue to plummet. Anyway, let's see what Jikukya says next. Fruit is almost entirely sugar, and I've never met an obese person who got fat eating oranges. Okay, sure, let's play that game. If fruit is so amazing, then show me a long-life fruitarian. And if sugar isn't harmful, explain non-alcoholic fatty liver in people who drink zero alcohol. Constant sugar hits do matter, and like everything else, the dose determines the poison. But you continue to go on, so will I. Sugar isn't bad, counting calories is great. Oh yeah, says who, Jikukya? What data do you have to prove this? This just sounds like your nonsensical opinion again. But still you go on. Excess sugar is bad in exactly the same way as excess fat and excess protein is. Oh really? And what are you going to back that up with? Excess protein in healthy people causes what exactly? Meanwhile, excess sugar intake is linked to diabetes, fatty liver disease, and a host of other metabolic conditions. Not exactly a level playing field, is it? But you still have more to say, so we'll carry on. It's just hard to eat too much of the last one, meaning protein, without also eating a ton of carbs and especially fats. Jakukya, have you never heard of lean beef, of whey protein isolate, tuna, egg whites, low-fat cottage cheese? And yet in all this you accuse me of being misleading. Your comments loaded with speculation, contradiction, outdated assumptions, and a host of other biases that are based on your opinion or some bullshit that you read or heard somewhere. You didn't engage with what I actually said, and you clearly haven't looked into mass balance, food density, or metabolic pathways like the glucose fatty acid cycle, for example. You're in no position to pull me up and lecture me with these baseless arguments. You at no stage asked me any questions for clarity, and instead you just rattled off some of your misguided and misinformed opinions. And for the rest of you watching this, if you genuinely want to understand the science and not just repeat nutrition dogma, then check out my other videos I've linked in the description. I welcome your comments, and I obviously read them. I don't mind disagreement, as long as it's informed, specific, and accurate. But if you say things that are inappropriate, inaccurate, misleading, or accuse me of saying things that I did not say, I won't tolerate it. If you're unsure of what I say, then ask about it, and let's keep the discussion honest, specific, and grounded in the science, instead of falling into emotional, irrational, and unsubstantiated opinions. As always, thank you for watching, and see you next time.